I feel pretty lucky that business ownership was something that was a part of my family culture pretty thoroughly. My dad owned a business, he still owns a business. My grandfather, both my grandfathers are business owners or were business owners. And so business ownership, I think, came to me sort of as a more natural option, more natural inclination, because I had examples of people running businesses around me. So I feel like that gave me a little bit of an edge that I'm pretty grateful for. And I was thinking about what the first business I started was. And I think it was when I was 14. I didn't have a name for this business, but I was too young to get a job, but I wanted to make money. And I told the story previously on this channel, but what I decided to do is I made a flyer that says, "Hi, I'm Ryan. I can do stuff. I can dust your attic. I can paint your garage. I can mow your lawn." And I went around the neighborhood and I distributed those flyers. And I had a couple of my neighbors call me and hire me to do things around their house. I had my first customers. And that experience was really excellent and really formative. And it really cemented my desire to head in the direction of being self-employed, owning a business, and having customers rather than being like a W-2 employee. Now, there's nothing wrong with being a W-2 employee, of course, and I have been a W-2 employee for many, many years. But the lesson that I would like to teach today is that business ownership should be a part of your plan, should be a goal that you have, and is not as hard as you think it might be. And I think that a good aspiration to have in your life is to, at some point, own and control a business. My name is Ryan Weiss. This is the Ryan Weiss channel. Thanks for tuning in. I'm doing a video series here called Lessons for My Kids, where I'm teaching a lesson each week that I think it's important for my kids to learn by the time they become adults. The lesson today is own a business. And I'm going to talk about what a business is, why you should consider owning one, some of the benefits to owning a business, what can go wrong with owning a business, and yeah, that's what I'm going to cover. So my suggestion to you is to not plan your life around exclusively having a job. You should aspire to own something. And a business should be one of the things that you own. Now, what is a business? Simply put, a business is a repeatable system that solves a problem for other people at a profit, and ideally, it runs without you. This references back the cash flow quadrant. If you haven't watched the video, I would suggest you do, which is Don't Trade Your Time for Money. I released that a couple weeks ago. But a business is on the right side of the cash flow quadrant, right? So it's moving from active income to more passive income. Now, getting a little bit more granular, a business is a customer plus a problem plus a solution plus profit plus a system. So you've got customer that has a problem, you have a solution that is profitable, and then you have a system that delivers that solution systematically, right? And there's a lot of reasons to own a business. So the first benefit that I would say is time freedom, right? I currently own a property management company. I don't have to punch in and punch out. If I would like to work more, I can. If I would like to work less, I can. Just last week, I took Thursday off and I went to the beach with my wife and kids. That's a benefit that I have to being a business owner. And let me say this, while I went to the beach, my business still ran because I have systems and employees and processes set up that continue the value delivery, the value delivery mechanism without my immediate input, right? Some of the most wealthy people are business owners. So Thomas Stanley and William Danko did survey research for the book that they wrote called The Millionaire Next Door. I highly recommend reading this book. They found that business owners were under 20% of the US workforce, but they made up roughly 2/3 of the millionaires that they studied. So it seems to me that a disproportionate amount of millionaires are business owners, and business ownership seems to be an important part of becoming a millionaire, or maybe a method to become a millionaire faster. Now, I think it's certainly possible, and I mean it's 100% possible, and not that uncommon to become a millionaire through W-2 employment exclusively. But I think you know, there's lifestyle benefits and income benefits to starting a business that a W-2 employee doesn't have. The other benefit to starting a business is that your income is technically unlimited, right? Now, the downside is it has no bottom, right? But your income is as big as you want to make it, right? So if you'd like to make more money, you can devise a strategy to scale your business to earn more money in a way that you really can't as a W-2 employee, right? As a W-2 employee, you're essentially working to build someone else's business. You're participating in someone else's value delivery system. And typically the pay is dependent on you delivering a certain part of the value process. And it's not like you can typically expand your role or do more to make more. Now, some jobs are like this, but most aren't, right? You deliver the value, you get your check, you go home. With a business, when you are designing the system, you can improve the system and increase your income. That's an opportunity that you have as a business owner that you don't often get as a W-2 employee. Now, it's not all sunshine and rainbows, right? So oftentimes, owning your own business can be a great way to destroy your savings, right? A lot of businesses fail. In fact, 20% of new businesses close within 1 year, and 50% of businesses close within the first 5 years. So when you start your own business, there's a 50-50 chance that you're still going to be operating in year 5. I feel incredibly grateful. My property management company just passed year 6, and that feels like a huge milestone. It's taken a lot of grit to get here. So it's important to be realistic with yourself about your capacity to own a business, your desire to own a business, and your ability to own a business. People have different temperaments. That might be another video that I make. Some people, I think, are more skilled as what I would call visionaries, right? So they're great at coming up with ideas for businesses, great at coming up with ways that systems should work. But then when it comes to actually boots on the ground traction and putting the systems into place, they are not that good at it. Now, some people are the opposite way. Some people are really good at implementing systems and creating plans and executing on those plans, but they lack vision. They lack the ability to sort of see the bigger picture or come up with new ideas or be creative. And so one opportunity that you could explore is having a business partner, right? So if you can learn what your weaknesses are, you can find a partner that has those strengths. And then you can create an agreement to provide each other's strengths to a joint venture and create a stronger business as a result. I have business partners in my property management company. I'm a really great integrator. I'm an okay visionary. My partners are excellent visionaries. So together, right, they help to clarify the vision, and then I'm really good at putting the vision into action. And because of that, we've had a really strong partnership, and I think the business has been more successful because we've partnered than if any of us tried to start the business individually. One other thing that I wanted to mention too, given the dismal success rates of businesses, it is likely that if you are an entrepreneur and you own businesses, one or more of your businesses will fail. It's important to separate failure as like an event in your life. Then it's important to separate that from your identity as a person. So successful people often experience failure in their life. That does not make them failures, right? What makes you a failure is how you respond to failures in your life, right? So if you experience failure and you begin to identify with that, and you allow your failure to stop you from taking additional action, to have a negative outlook in the future, to discourage other people from taking action, then you have become and you have identified with that failure. But if you maintain the identity of someone who is successful, and you experience a failure, you can begin to ask yourself, well, what do I learn from this? What am I going to take this, what am I going to take from this into my next experience? And my encouragement is, if possible, separate the event of failing from your identity as a successful person. Now, if you experience a lot of failure, it can be tough to maintain that identity of a successful person. But there are countless stories of successful people that failed over and over and over again. Some of them are pretty cliche, like Thomas Edison and his light bulb. I would just encourage you, I created a whole video on failure. You could go back and listen to that. But if you experience failure as a business owner, don't let it stop you. Don't let it discourage you. Don't let it turn you into a failure. Instead, just accept it, learn from it, and move on. And finally, I think it's important to own things, right? I think that there are consumers and producers, and I think it is valuable to move to the producer class, right? And to be someone who creates more value than you consume. I think that that's a great way to live, and I think that living that way gives you a lot of different options. And owning a business can be a method to moving from a net consumer to a net producer. So that's my lesson. That's a little bit about business. I encourage you to own a business in your life. It's a great experience, whether it's a wonderful success or an abysmal failure. Consider owning a business. And that's my lesson. So thanks very much for watching. If this inspired any comments within you, please add them down below, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. This is Ryan Weiss with The Ryan Weiss Show, signing out.